Today's episode of Off the Timeline is titled, What If USC Never Hired Lane Kiffin? In 2010, USC doesn't hire Lane Kiffin, and that single decision quietly triggers Big Ten expansion, reshapes the SEC's power balance, and creates a playoff era where USC and Ohio State become opposing poles of the sport. This is the fork, and everything you recognize about modern college football bends because of this. This video is a full alternate history timeline, not rumors, not hot takes, tracing how one coaching hire rewired conferences, playoff politics, and power by 2025. And the payoff is understanding why today's college football Cold War didn't have to happen, but probably always would. By the end of this universe, USC and Ohio State will meet in the playoff, the SEC quietly rewrites its own structure, and Florida panics its way into another offensive revolution, and none of that starts where you think it does. Let's go back to the moment USC said no. Act 1, The Fork, 2010. In this universe, USC looks at Lane Kiffin and they walk away. Not because he isn't talented, but because USC decides chaos is no longer an acceptable rebuild strategy. Instead, USC makes a stabilizing adult hire, Chris Peterson, and this matters immediately. USC under sanctions doesn't implode. It organizes. It survives. Meanwhile, Lane Kiffin does not disappear. He lands at Florida, stepping into the emotional vacuum left by Urban Meyer. And suddenly, the sport splits in two directions. USC chooses discipline. Florida chooses volatility. One program is about to regain control. The other is about to lose it completely. Act 2. Conference gravity shifts, 2011 to 2014. USC stability sends shockwaves through the Pac-10 conference and later the Pac-12. Oregon no longer owns the West Coast uncontested. Recruiting dam walls stop breaking. The Pac-12 gains legitimacy earlier. Meanwhile, in the SEC, Lane Kiffin's Florida burns hot and fast. Recruiting spikes. Discipline erodes. By 2014, Florida panics and overcorrects. They hire Dan Quinn, going defense first, structure first, silence first. At the same time, Georgia quietly benefits from everyone else's instability. Georgia doesn't take off yet, it just never loses control. And by the time the playoff arrives, one conference is unified and the other is already fractured. Act 3, the playoff era bends, 2015 to 2019. As the playoff era begins, the SEC's imbalance accelerates. Georgia becomes inevitable. Florida becomes conflicted. Tennessee never stabilizes. Florida eventually swings back, this time offense first, hiring Joe Brady trying to reclaim relevance without chaos. Meanwhile, Lane Kiffin rebuilds himself, not as a savior, but as a chaos agent. By 2020, he earns one last blue blood shot at Auburn. He's smarter now, contained, dangerous, but not dominant. And while the SEC cannibalizes itself, USC becomes something far more dangerous than flashy. Act 4, the Cold War, 2020 to 2022. USC's competence changes everything. Behind closed doors, the Big Ten stops modeling hypotheticals, and they start making phone calls. USC is not chaos anymore, it's governance ready. By 2022, westward expansion becomes inevitable, and the sport now has two centers of gravity. What happens next isn't regional, it's geopolitical. Act 5, Power Collision, 2023 to 2025. The playoff era crystallizes around symbols. Ohio State becomes the Big Ten's industrial engine. USC becomes its strategic soul. They meet. They split playoff battles. They define the era. In the SEC, Georgia and Florida restart an arms race. Auburn under Kiffin becomes the wild card. Structural reform quietly rewrites scheduling and access. Playoff expansion accelerates again, not for fairness, but for control. Wrapping it up, this universe proves something very uncomfortable. College football did not drift into superpower politics. It was pushed there by one decision, one fork, and one program choosing stability over spectacle. If you want more timelines where one decision reshapes everything, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment with the next fork you want to explore. Because in college football, history isn't fragile, it's waiting.